Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to Reimagining Tech in 2022, presented by Google Cloud and ETCIO. To help IT decision makers in meeting digital transformation goals for their organizations, ET and Google Cloud have come up with an innovative series of 10 workshops around cutting edge cloud technologies. The sessions have been conceptualized keeping in mind IT leaders who are looking to gain actionable insights to support their organization's digital growth strategies. Today's workshop is on the topic Securing Businesses and Digital Transformation on Cloud. Enforcing security controls, privacy, and data protection for data processed and stored on the cloud is a common challenge for businesses. This workshop will address all issues related to cloud security and more. Ladies and gentlemen, we will also have a Q&A session at the end of the workshop, so you can keep posting your questions and our speakers will be happy to take that up. Now let's kickstart today's event. I would like to invite Saurabh Tiwari, Chief Technology Officer at Policy Bazaar. Pleasure to have you here, Saurabh. Over to you.
I'm here to talk about one of the topics that is part of the Reimaging Tech in 2022 series. And the topic seems to be extremely interesting, securing business and digital transformation on cloud. It's a topic which actually have three big terms which do come all together, converge and make big business sense. One is digital transformation, second is cloud, and third is security. And all have their own meanings in itself. So let's start and understand how cloud is a big word in the industry right now. And cloud is kind of become a core for the modern biz. When we talk about cloud, I think 3-4 years back, 4 or 5 years back, I think it was very difficult to understand what cloud can deliver. But right now, everyone who's in the technology business understand what cloud is. Cloud actually is becoming the foundation for many businesses which are now getting birth. In fact, some of these organizations are cloud first. Some of them are actually cloud only right now. Even some of the past organizations which have been very conservative in deciding to get onto the cloud journey have started taking a stride on cloud. So cloud is definitely getting a better adoption in the world, in India. And what has we have gone through last 2 years, the pandemic, which has not only made people to work from home, also pushed the cloud to the next level. And entire work from a strategy has allowed organizations to adopt cloud-driven tools, whether they were on a SaaS basis, PaaS basis, IaaS basis. I think it has only helped the cause of getting better cloud adoption in the country. The cloud has taken multiple routes. It has gone on a multi-cloud strategy, hybrid cloud strategy. And in fact, there are many organizations which are using more than one clouds in different flavors and different ways. What has been recently found in a study that there's almost the expected 18% compound annual growth rate is expected out of cloud. So cloud needs no introduction now in the business. Cloud will continue to rise and help businesses to go to the next level. Let's understand what digital transformation is. I do believe it has been a term which was always there on the cards of any business. The digital transformation was happening in sideways in many businesses because for them, core businesses were being driven without having any digital initiative. But what has happened in the last 2 years due to pandemic, the digital transformation has actually become the part of the core strategy for many businesses. The digital transformation is generally happening in two bigger segments. One is the operational enhancement challenges or broken processes which are being automated right now, and that has really helped the organization to add better productivity and efficiency in the processes. And second one is where end consumers are able to have a self-service oriented options through customer journeys, which allows consumers to operate on their own. And that is not only being driven by the pandemic, it has also got a bit of support from the kind of penetration that we are seeing around the high-end mobile devices and better internet connectivities. So digital transformation has definitely taken a pace. And in fact, organizations have started requesting for very fast turnaround on their digital transformational journeys. whether it is on the operational side or the consumer journey side. While the expectations are to have a faster turnaround, there's no better option than cloud. And cloud provides you all the options to have a better and fast-paced digital transformation. It also helps organization to reduce the cost. It also provides ability to have one of the finest and the latest techs available, which is globally available to any organization to use in whatever possible way they can use. While the transactions and the digital transformations are going in a faster speed, the data requirements are also gone multifold, and that has potentially created an opportunity for cloud to provide a scalable environment where the data can be stored in a multi-tiered environment. This is only possible in cloud. If you have an in-house environment, in-house on-prem environment, you can't have that scalability that clouds provide. So it is very clear, it is very imperative, the kind of expectation and the demand the industry is having around digital transformation. Cloud is one of the best options available, and it can only meet the upcoming needs of the upcoming businesses. So while one side cloud is trying to help businesses to build their digital transformation in a fast-paced manner, it is also putting up some extra responsibility because the data is growing at a faster speed. Data is also moving out of the premise of an organization. That's a big change that a lot of organizations are seeing, which have been in the industry for a while. I'm sure, I mean, those who have started the journey on the cloud, they understand the data can be on the cloud, but for the organization which have been very traditional in nature, for them it's a big change. And while such a ownership around data has to be justified, we need to put better security measures. And that's the place where digital transformation, cloud, and the security practices are converging. And we have to understand security is very, very important when you actually have the data on the cloud or you allow your consumers to do the journeys in a self-service manner. So now as we proceed on our conversation, we should definitely talk about how the security can be used on the cloud, how security can actually be built on the cloud. While cloud is available for you to provide you better features and flexibility, it also demands a bit of extra care and caution towards security. So if I'll put my entire security thought process around three buckets. One is I'll say that before you start planning for security on the cloud, there's a bit of prep work which is needed, which is the softer part of the entire thing. And I do believe that you need to have a very good governance in place. Even though if you have one of the best technologies, but if you do not have the right governance in place, there's a possibility you may have some kind of issues which are unforeseen in nature. So what I suggest that you should have a great security team. You should have a leadership built into it. You should also have a very good cybersecurity policy built into it, which should clearly specify how you are supposed to handle the security on the cloud as well as on-prem, while if you have a hybrid cloud system. Second point, I believe on a softer side, you should build a very decent cybersecurity awareness within the organization. It is not only up to the security team to handle the entire security practices. It should be the entire organization that should be sensitive about how to handle security all across. Whether if you have an in-house development team, your developers should know. If you have a larger management team, they should also understand the security practices. So that awareness and sensitization is very, very important part of the entire exercise. Then the third and the most important thing for your work is to select a cloud and understand the solutions which are available. So if you are new to the cloud, you have to make a right choice. All the upcoming big brands of clouds do have better security options, but one should definitely research a lot, understand which cloud is providing what kind of security solution. Once that kind of work has been done, then it comes down to going to the next level of doing the right design and architecture. This is very, very important. If you have not made the right governance and the thought leadership around deciding security, you will actually mess up as you start putting up the right design and architecture. As part of the second goal, design and architecture, this is how you need to proceed. First, you understand the cloud solutions which are available in the market and what kind of security services they are providing. Then try to realign your security requirements to the needs, the solutions that are being provided by the cloud frameworks. Because a lot of times when the organizations which have been very traditional in nature, they have been securing their on-prem infrastructure in certain manner, they tend to replicate the similar kind of security behavior on the cloud. That something actually creates a lot of chaos. I would suggest in those circumstances, the organization should have a very fresh look, understand what is available in terms of security solutions and what has been recommended by the cloud solution to secure your applications, and realign your effort and get onto that journey. The next level is to design your network security very well. And the network security is very, very essential part of it, because not everything has to be exposed to the end consumer side. It can be pretty much in your virtual private network, which could be an extension of your on-prem network. You can always build right identity and access management features, which allows you to have zero trust network. This is a very, very important feature. You have to build the network trust level to the level where no one can actually go from inside out or can come from outside in, and that kind of a trust level feature has to be built in. Then there are certain equipments and the softwares which are available from your cloud provider. You should talk to them very, very, very clearly. If your solution is getting exposed in an end consumer environment, DDoS protection is must. You should have a web firewall to check the unauthorized access of or unwanted traffic which is moving to your applications. You should have proper intrusion prevention system. You should have proper intrusion detection systems. All this should be basically laid down in a clear manner as per your need, and the infrastructure diagram should be very clearly presented to the entire security committee as part of your security leadership team. While we continue to put a lot of effort on the network side, application security is also one of the most important aspect of the work. And what we have seen in at many places, people put a lot of emphasis on drawing a lot of good network security, but application security might create the mess. And application security requires effort right from the time when you are designing or developing an application. If you have an in-house team, if you're working with vendors, you should actually work with them, understand their security practices in depth, understand whether security practices have been applied while the coding was being done. There should be secure coding guidelines which should have been given to the developers while the development is happening. There should be a very clear, secured architectural practices that should be documented and applied while building a solution. Now the world is moving into an era where a lot of these softwares are being run on a through JavaScript on a front end, and they are connecting through the APIs. API security is the most important part of the entire exercise. The API should be documented. If possible, try to use some kind of API gateway to understand whether the API security is put in the right place. APIs are documented, what APIs are exposed to the external environment, what APIs are internal to the environment. All at the same time have a continuous regular VAPT vulnerability assessment practice in place. Try to also have certain tools which are in market which allows you to do scanning of your code base or your deployed solution on a regular basis. On and beyond, while you do some kind of proactive measures to figure out loopholes in your application security, try to do some kind of bug bounty. Bug bounties are available on a private as well as public basis. So these programs do help you in figuring out any possible information that can potentially be leaked outside. Now, as part of the application security, the most important part is to have a right protection of data and encryption of data, because data is something which either resides on your database or it moves in transit when a transaction is happening. We must ensure that the encrypted information is moving from one place to another place, and data which is being residing in the database is secured. And there are a lot of data protection tools also be governed by cloud. In fact, cloud helps you in getting these tools which are available in the market, and they can be easily deployed on the need basis. Data protection actually becomes very, very important for a cloud business. When you have set up your design, you have put up your right architecture, you have got your solution up and running, and it is implemented, it's in use, and consumers and your employees have started using it. I think the most important part comes to have a proper monitoring and alert, getting some kind of intelligence around possible threat. That's very, very important. You should have your telemetry in place, which actually picks up any kind of a outlier in terms of traffic which is moving, or any activity which is happening which is not of any usual trend. Your system should be able to send you an alert, and based on those alerts you should be able to respond. Some of the things which we have always seen, that even though if you put one of the best practices, there is a possibility things may go wrong. If those situations are unfavorable, you should have ways to back up and restore your applications. I hope that doesn't come your way, but the backup and restoration is a very, very important part of the entire policy. You should also have a disaster recovery setup in place. You never know how things may go wrong. Even though there's no security issue or something happens which you can't predict, you should be able to recover your entire setup within few minutes. So that's the level of intelligence you have to put in place to drive your entire application. And I would say that as the world is evolving, as the needs, consumer experience expectations are going north, it is impossible to curtail down this digital transformation practice. It will only see further north. And digital transformations and consumer experience and expectation will only see a huge upliftment. And while this is all happening and you are putting your best effort to secure these applications, I would still say that no matter how hard you try, there's always a possibility of having something which does not work in your favor. So one of the best ways that I have personally seen in my life is that to continuously assess the security measures that you have put in place and evolve your security posture as you move around. And let's pray that something or nothing actually goes without your expectation, and things just generally stay as you want to handle. So with all this, I think this is all I wanted to share with you on securing things on the cloud. And I'll be very happy to take anything which you wish to know. And with this, I wish you have a good time in securing your applications on the cloud while your digital transformation journeys are going to take the fast-paced speed as you move forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Saurabh, for sharing valuable insights and learning with our audience. Cloud is the foundation that is enabling businesses to transform, differentiate, and gain competitive advantage. Many global organizations are now focused on cloud-first strategies as they advance the use of cloud services across the business. Organizations plan to spend the majority of new or additional funding on cloud. Cloud adoption is on the rise. But what about cloud security? Our next session will address how organizations can meet cybersecurity, policy, regulatory, and business objectives on the cloud. Let's welcome Sandeep Agarwal, Customer Engineer Security Specialist at Google Cloud. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start the next keynote session, a quick reminder to drop your session-related questions in the chat box. We'll pick the questions at the end of the session. Our experts would love to take up the questions. Now let's start this session. Over to you, Sandeep.
Hi, everyone. I've personally known organizations have looked to the public cloud for cost savings or to supplement their private data center capacity. However, in the recent past, I've known many organizations are now looking to the public cloud for security reasons, realizing very well that cloud providers can invest much more in people and processes to deliver secure infrastructure and applications. I am Sandeep Agarwal, a security specialist at Google Cloud India, and I work with customers to help secure their journey to the cloud. Today, I'm going to talk about and share some examples of how we at Google Cloud can help you take the advantage of our vast security knowledge and capabilities so that you can be more secure. Let's look at our mission. At Google Cloud, our mission is very simple. We want to accelerate our customers' ability to digitally transform their businesses. And at Google Cloud Security, our mission is to modernize security, whether that digital transformation is happening in our cloud or anywhere else. The way we do this is by leveraging our global infrastructure and intelligence, which has got some unique and industry-leading features. Now, how do we do this? We do this in two ways. Firstly, in the cloud, we offer what we think is the most secure, transparent, and compliant cloud. But we also work to bring the power of Google's infrastructure and intelligence to wherever our customers' systems run, and have security offerings for all of them. Let's first talk about our cloud platform that is allowing us to build and become our customers' most trusted cloud. The way we look at our trusted cloud platform is across three pillars. First, we provide protection from threats through a secure foundation. We have built a core infrastructure that is designed and operated with security in mind. Secondly, we provide customers with a constantly expanding array of controls that they can use to help meet their own policy, regulatory, or other business objectives. And finally, we work to meet our compliance responsibilities and in turn provide capabilities to make compliance easier for our customers. We look at all of these three pillars in detail. Let's take the protection pillar first. So our infrastructure does not rely on any single technology to make it secure. Rather, we build security through progressive layers that deliver true defense in depth. Let's start with the base layer where our hardware sits. So our hardware is Google controlled, built, and hardened. We'll look at a bit later how and what are the implications of this custom designed hardware on security. Secondly, any application binary that runs on our infrastructure is deployed securely. We do not assume any trust between our services, and we use multiple mechanisms to establish and maintain trust, even between two services which are running as part of the same infrastructure in the same data center in the same region. Thirdly, data stored on our infrastructure is automatically encrypted at rest and distributed for availability and reliability. When we talk about identities, all identities, users, and services are strongly authenticated at Google. When I talk about communications, anything that communicates over the internet to our cloud services are always encrypted. Furthermore, the scale of our infrastructure allows us to absorb many denial of service attacks, and we have multiple layers of protection that further reduce the risk of any DOS impact or denial of service impact. Finally, we have our wonderful operations teams that detect threats and respond to incidents on a 24/7, 365 basis. Let's dive a bit deeper into the design of our infrastructure that I referred to earlier. Now, Google servers and their operating systems are designed for the sole purposes of providing Google services. Our servers are custom built and don't include unnecessary components like video cards or peripheral interconnects that can introduce vulnerabilities. And the same goes for software, including low-level software and our operating systems, which is a stripped down, hardened version of Linux. Further, we design and include hardware specifically for security, like Titan. It's a custom security chip that we use to establish a hardware root of trust in our servers and peripherals. We also build our own network hardware and software to improve performance as well as security. Now, understanding this provenance from the bottom of our hardware stack to the top allows us to control our security posture. Unlike other cloud providers, we have greatly reduced this vendor in the middle problem for us. If a vulnerability is found, we can take steps immediately to develop and roll out a fix. This level of control results in greater reduced exposure, not just for us, but also in turn for our customers. A great real life example where all of this manifested was when Google rolled out protections against both the Spectre and Meltdown vulnerabilities that came up somewhere around January 2018 to all of our production infrastructure that underpins all Google products, from cloud services like Gmail, Search, and Drive, to even Google Cloud Services. Now, the even more interesting thing is these deployments required no customer downtime. This was made possible due to Google Cloud Platform's live migration technology, under which almost all of our infrastructure runs as virtualized containers. All we need to do is move that container from one hardware infrastructure to another hardware infrastructure while it is being patched. When it comes to data encryption, many other cloud providers offer optional encryption capabilities, but our approach at Google is different. What we do is we encrypt data prior to it being written to the disk. And encryption is inherent in all of Google's storage system, rather than added as an afterword. We already mentioned that communications over the internet to Google Cloud require properly terminated TLS connections. For those of you who are crypto nerds, I encourage you to go through our public white papers that describe in much more detail about how we do encryption at rest and encryption in transit across our various services. Let's move to the control pillar, the second pillar under our trusted cloud platform topic. When you think about controls, there are many areas in a security program. You talk about securing your infrastructure, securing the network, securing data, securing applications, managing identities, access, securing endpoints. We offer a range of natively available security capabilities for you as customers that you only have to configure in a way that meets your security objectives. There are also ongoing processes for security operations, governance, risk, and compliance management. In fact, our leadership in platform native security controls is acknowledged by none other than Forrester. This includes our security offerings across our global data centers and the various areas that I mentioned earlier. Let's dive into this topic a bit more and take a few examples of how Google Cloud offers native security controls for you as customers. A great example is management of encryption keys. If you recall, we mentioned earlier that all of your data in Google Cloud is encrypted at rest by default. But we also know that customers have got different security requirements based on their trust level and business needs. So for this, we have got a cloud KMS platform that lets you as customers manage cryptographic keys in a central cloud service, either for your direct use or by use by other Google Cloud resources and applications. So for example, Cloud KMS provides the following options. You can either store your keys in a software backend managed by Cloud KMS, and these could be symmetric or asymmetric keys that you control. Or you can use a Cloud HSM service if you need a hardware key to help ensure that your symmetric and asymmetric keys are only used in FIPS 140-2 level 3 validated hardware security modules or HSMs. We also give you the ability to import your own cryptographic keys that you may want to generate in your HSM on premises. And finally, we give you the ultimate control over your keys, where you can use the Cloud External Key Manager or the Cloud EKM to create and manage the keys in a key manager external to Google Cloud, and then set up the Cloud KMS platform to use these external keys to help protect your data at rest. Another great example is the discovery, classification, and de-identification of sensitive data. De-identification, as you would know, is the process of removing, identifying personally identifiable information from data. Now, Cloud DLP not just helps you detect sensitive data such as PII data, but it can also be used to de-identify, which means either mask, delete, or otherwise obscure that data using techniques such as hashing or tokenization to de-identify this data from your data sets. You can use the Cloud DLP service in native inspection jobs to scan data at rest in some of Google's cloud storage services, or you can use the power of Google Cloud DLP API to scan any data. And this data could be on premises, it could be in other clouds, or it could be in non-native storage systems on Google Cloud itself. Say, for example, you're running your own databases on a particular virtual machine, or you could be running your own custom applications in which you want to do data identification and data de-identification on a real-time basis. Another great example is for customers who operate in regulated industries. Now, these customers often have data residency and sovereignty requirements. Google Cloud not only provides all customers the option to select specific regions where they want to store their data, but we also make it easier for customers to implement organization-wide guardrails and segregation of duties to prevent any such security or compliance deviations from happening in the future. We now move on to the third pillar, which is the compliance pillar under the trusted cloud topic. In terms of compliance, Google Cloud products regularly undergo independent verification of their security, privacy, and compliance controls. This means that an independent auditor has examined the controls present in our data centers, infrastructures, operations, and these products. For example, in India, we have been audited by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, METI, for compliance against Government of India requirements. Similarly, we have got public white papers mapping our platform controls against common requirements which have been laid down by regulators such as the RBI, the SEBI, or the IRDAI outsourcing requirements. The benefit of these industry-leading security third-party audits and certifications is that they not just help you validate Google's commitments so that you don't just take our word for granted, and you actually have a third party who is attestating that our controls have been implemented the way we say they have been implemented, but it also helps you reduce your own compliance burden, because when you start on a compliance platform which has implemented all of these various compliance standards, it helps you and it reduces the amount of controls that you have to implement in your environment if you want these certifications for your own business. On top of the standard compliance offerings that we discussed previously, Google Cloud also offers tailored contracts for regulated customers, and these contracts include commitments on audit rights for our customers and their regulators. We also have dedicated teams supporting these requirements. Say, for example, if there's a customer risk management process or a regulatory compliance needs, or if you require any trust briefings, compliance validations, or support for due diligence and security assessments, we have got a team that will have you covered. Lastly, we also have wider teams that keep a close eye on evolving regulations, and where required, we play a vital role in shaping these regulations by working closely with regulators and industry trade associations. Let's now talk about the second area that I mentioned when we started. This is an area where we bring about the best of Google's security capabilities to other cloud platforms or on-premises to strengthen trust everywhere. When I talk to customers and anybody who's in this space, if you look at any broad survey of security challenges faced by most organizations today, I'm sure you would note these as recurrent themes. So when it comes to your workforce, threats such as phishing, malware, data leakage are by far the most common security threats that face your employees and business partners. When you look at applications or workloads, you'll see that distributed denial of service, account takeovers, bots, fraud are threats that face applications which are used by your own customers. And then finally, securing access to internal applications, and detecting and responding to security threats on a real-time basis are priorities for all enterprises and organizations today. Now, the way we solve for these challenges at Google, our approach is a bit unique. Our approach at Google is to try to eliminate the entire class of threat versus just putting a band-aid on the problem. For example, when we talk about phishing ransomware, we at Google have addressed those threats with our WorkSafer solution and our Chrome Enterprise product. When it comes to DDoS and bot attacks, we have addressed those threats altogether with our products like Cloud Armor and Recapture Enterprise. And lastly, when it comes to the challenges of remote working, we have addressed these problems of secure access to applications from anywhere with our Beyond Corp Enterprise solution. Now, the beauty of this, the cherry on the cake, is that these solutions not just address the problem, but also make security invisible or frictionless for end users. So when you are countering phishing or ransomware, you don't have to put users through a cumbersome chain of processes, which makes life difficult for them. Traditionally, security departments are always known for this, that security is great, but it comes at the cost of user experience. Our approach is to take away this friction that is introduced by traditional security approaches and make it as invisible as possible for your end users. Let's dive into each of these areas in a bit more detail. When I talk about phishing and ransomware, we have a solution called as WorkSafer. WorkSafer is a cloud-first security model that helps protect everyone in your organization against cyber attacks. It is an all-in-one package which includes various components. So starting with Google Workspace, if you all of you would have used some form of Google Workspace, which is Gmail, which helps block spam and malicious email with a far greater degree of accuracy. Then you've got Titan security keys, which are based on the open sourced FIDO or the Universal Second Factor Protocol, which blocks phishing and account compromises. And then finally, you've got Chrome Enterprise that blocks all known forms of ransomware attacks and has got no reported ransomware attacks against it. When I talk about threat and data protection, we've got Chrome, which is central to Beyond Corp, a concept that we will discuss very shortly. Chrome delivers integrated threat and data protection capabilities as part of the overall Beyond Corp enterprise offering. What these features help is they block access to malicious content, prevent intentional exfiltration or accidental data loss. They help detect phishing and also prevent malware transfers. All of this just from within the Chrome browser, leveraging the power of Google Safe browsing and our cloud DLP technology that we discussed previously. Additionally, what your administrators could do is you can generate alerts, logs, or reports of unsafe activity that is happening across your enterprise. For example, you could leverage security dashboards available in Chrome and see reports and alerts for things such as high-risk domains, who are your high-risk users, as well as drill into particular incidents that have happened in the past. In all of this, because Chrome is essentially your agent, you do not require any additional software to take advantage of this integrated threat and data protection capability. It makes a great, compelling use case for the extended workforce, especially people who are using BYOD, bring your own devices, or unmanaged devices that you may not necessarily control. And for these users, they can benefit from a tool that they are already using. Chrome as a browser is used by billions, is across billions of devices and is used by a billion plus users on the internet today. When it comes to fraud and bot protection, The reCAPTCHA enterprise service helps customers detect abusive traffic on their websites without causing any user friction. Now, we all would have experienced a lot of friction when you go to a site and that traditionally poses you those traditional traffic light signals or asks you to type in a letter in a box, trying to prove that you are a human and not a bot. In reCAPTCHA Enterprise, you essentially use a score-based detection system that relies on data about online activity in order to stop bots and other automatic attacks while letting all of your valid users in without any friction. It leverages at the core our learnings with reCAPTCHA that already protects millions of websites on the internet. Now, coming to DDoS and web attack defense, this is not something new to Google. Google has been at the front end of creating and protecting internet scale applications that we all have grown to use and trust in our daily lives. We feel at Google we are uniquely positioned to provide the same breadth of protection by leveraging these two products. One is reCAPTCHA Enterprise for bot defense that I just talked about, and the other is Cloud Armor, which is our DDoS and web application defense product. Using these two products, you can comprehensively defend your internet-facing web and mobile applications against modern threats. And these two products work well together and are integrated. Now, the applications that you want to protect could be anywhere. They could be on Google Cloud, they could be on another cloud, or it could also be an on-premises application. As a customer, it provides two clear advantages for you. One is you can enable this protection without any server-side changes to your applications. And secondly, because this detection and enforcement happens at the edge of Google's network, you can mitigate these threats far ahead of before these threats have a chance to impact or touch your applications. So essentially, you are letting Google defend your applications and ward these off at the perimeter, even before these bad actors can make their way to your application backends. Coming to the problem of hybrid and remote work access. Now, this is a problem that has been particularly accentuated in the last 2.5 years in the pandemic. Almost all businesses today want to help people on the left, which is your workforce, access the things on the right, which is your applications and resources, in a secure yet simple way. The question is, how do we do that without the need for a traditional VPN and eliminate that friction that is introduced by VPN? Also, apart from this friction that a VPN introduces, there is the way VPN infrastructures are organized. It creates a strong boundary, but within that boundary, almost everything is trusted. So once you cross that boundary and come within, because you have authenticated yourself to the VPN service, an entity can pretty much move laterally within this entire environment, which creates a security risk. At Google, the way we have solved for it is using our Beyond Corp Enterprise solution, which is a modern zero trust platform. As part of this platform, what we do is your workforce, whether in office, at a remote location, or working from home, they leverage the Chrome browser as they would normally do to access applications and resources with built-in real-time threat and data protection that we discussed a few moments earlier. What then happens is our network protects and proxies this traffic and allows you to enforce context-aware policies using factors such as strong identity, device information, location, time of the day, what network are they using, etc. Once all of these context-aware policies have been successfully validated, access is authorized to the specific applications that the user has been requesting. And as I said earlier, these applications could be in Google Cloud, in another cloud, or even on premises. I now move on to the final product that I wanted to talk about, which is around managing risks of misconfigurations and threats in the cloud. Now, when it comes to managing cloud security risks, there are four specific pieces of functionality that Cloud Security Command Center, the product that we are going to discuss today, covers. Firstly, it helps in asset and resource tracking. It helps you as customers gain visibility into the ever expanding set of assets and resources to understand the number of projects that you may have, what resources are deployed as part of those projects. This is very important in security because if you don't know what you have deployed, how can you keep it secure? Secondly, it helps discover vulnerabilities and detects potential misconfigurations of those cloud assets. Users can receive notifications about new or updated findings almost in near real time and can use those notifications to drive action and reduce their risk. I will cover this piece in a short demo later. Thirdly, when it comes to threat detection, SCC helps spotting malicious activity and unauthorized behavior. Security Command Center can help detect threats such as malware, crypto mining, brute force SSH, outgoing denial of service attacks, or anomalous IAM grants, and any instances of potential data exfiltration and much more. So in a way, the threat detection capability looks at real-time behavior happening in your cloud environment and identifies whether any of these behaviors are suspicious in nature that needs your attention. The fourth pillar is around compliance standard mappings. Simply put, SCC helps customers maintain compliance. They can help you review reports to ensure resources meet requirements set forth by a variety of regulations and industry best practices like ISO 27001, the CIS benchmark, could be an NIST standard, or could be an OWASP top 10 standard that you may want to follow for your business. So we are going to cover this demo of Cloud Security Command Center that I had promised earlier during my session. As you remember, Cloud Security Command Center is a product that helps you discover vulnerabilities and threats across your Google Cloud environment and get notified about these threats and vulnerabilities as they happen. So for the purposes of this demo, what I'm going to do is I'm going to deliberately create a misconfiguration in one of my projects, and I'll show you how this vulnerability gets reported by Cloud Security Command Center and the way this vulnerability gets notified into Slack, which is the medium of communication that an organization could possibly use for their own security and operations teams. So I've created a channel known as SecOps in this demo environment, which will receive this particular alert within a matter of a few seconds. And I'll also show you how there are certain configurable ways in which you can remediate or mute these alerts right from within the Slack console itself. So I go to my custom project. I've created a demo project under my name. And as part of this project, I'm going to create a firewall rule, which I'll deliberately misconfigure for the purposes of this demo. So I name this firewall as an SCC demo firewall. I assign it to my VPC network that I've created in this environment. I apply it to all instances in this network, and I use the source IP range as 0000/0, which essentially means I'm allowing any source on the internet to be allowed as part of this firewall rule. Now I'm going to allow this firewall rule to permit traffic over the port SSH, which is port 22, as all of you would know. And with this, I'm going to create this firewall rule. Now, this is a demo, and this is not a configuration that we would recommend anybody, but you get the point. So I've ordered the creation of this firewall. You can see that there is a firewall rule being created called SCC demo firewall rule. As soon as this firewall rule gets created, we are going to jump over to the SCC console and see how does that alert. So you see that this firewall rule has now been created. Let me jump to the SCC console and do a refresh here. You should see an uptick in the number of vulnerabilities reported by Security Command Center. So you see that the number of reported active vulnerabilities has increased by 1. And you can see that there is a new vulnerability called the OpenSSH port reported by SCC. If I go to my Slack channel, you can see that this vulnerability has also surfaced in my SecOps channel a few seconds ago on this date. And you can see that the description, it says that this firewall rule allows connections from all IP addresses on TCP port 22, which may expose the SSH service to attackers. So from this point in time, I have given and configured 2 options for anybody who's monitoring the SecOps channel. Either I could remediate this finding. What it essentially does is it would go back and delete the firewall rule that was the source of this particular vulnerability, or I could mute the finding. Muting option is pretty valuable to customers who feel that a particular vulnerability is kind of risk accepted for their environment. So there may be certain vulnerabilities that you want to live with because there is a business constraint that requires you to live with those vulnerabilities, or you may have got other compensating controls to address those vulnerabilities. So either way, you can take any of these actions. Let me first take an example of muting this particular finding. I click on mute finding, it asks me for a confirmation, and I go ahead with muting the particular finding. So there is an action going on underway, which is nothing but a pair of cloud functions which get triggered the moment I click that button. And you see that there is a confirmation that has come that the SSC finding has been muted successfully. If I go back to my Security Command Center dashboard and I perform another refresh, you will see that this particular finding should now go away because the finding has been muted. Now, so yes, you can see that the finding no more appears. The OpenSSH finding no more appears. The finding still exists in the SCC in the database, but it is not being reported as an active finding because we have chosen to mute it. I now go back to my firewall rule and I want to say edit that particular firewall rule and instead switch it over to say port 3389, which is the RDP port. I change this firewall rule and you will see that Security Command Center will report it as a fresh finding because this time this is not an OpenSSH port, but this time it is an Open RDP port. So I go back to my Security Command Center dashboard, hit refresh again, and hopefully this time you will see that there is an Open RDP finding port reported by SCC. So you will see, there you go, you see an Open RDP port finding reported by SCC. And if I go back to my Slack channel, you will see that the same alert has been reported in a matter of a few seconds. This time, instead of muting this particular finding, I'm going to remediate that finding and let's see what happens. So I click on the remediate option because this is a vulnerability that I don't want to live with. I click on remediate, I confirm this, and another set of cloud functions get triggered in the backend, which are now working to delete that firewall rule that caused this vulnerability to appear in the first place. So like in the previous instance, again, I get a confirmation back. This time it says the misconfigured firewall rule has been deleted successfully. Let me go back to my Security Command Center and refresh it. This time this finding should go away because the underlying cause of that finding has been addressed. So Security Command Center is instant, not just in detecting vulnerabilities, but also when vulnerabilities are fixed, it updates itself almost instantly. If I go back and look at all of the firewall rules that are present in my account, you can see that the demo SCC firewall rule is not present anymore because it has been successfully deleted because of the remediate action. So this was a quick demo about the capabilities of Security Command Center. We looked at how Security Command Center can be the eyes and ears of your security operations teams, helping you detect vulnerabilities, assets, findings, and compliance violations across your Google Cloud environment, and helping your teams take remedial actions on those security findings. I hope you enjoyed the demo. So to sum it up, other cloud providers may describe a similar stack of capabilities, but the way Google Cloud approaches many of these is unique. We looked at how, number one, at Google, we try to eliminate the entire classes of threats and not just put a band-aid on a problem. Moreover, these security solutions not just address the problem, but also make security frictionless for end users. We also leverage the global threat perspective that we bring in because of the nature of our operations and the scale at which Google operates, not only to build a digital immune systems for ourselves, but to assist in building a digital immune system for our customers and the wider internet in general. Lastly, in Google Cloud, we do not want to have a perceived delineator of, this is your responsibility as a customer and this is our responsibility as Google Cloud. We want to stand with our customers from the beginning by providing opinionated guidance via solutions, blueprints, best practices that make it easier for you to deploy and operate securely while you are running on Google Cloud. In the end, what this means is an increasingly secure environment based on our concept of invisible security, where security technologies and capabilities are engineered into our platforms and products and not fitted as a post facto bolt-on security. Thanks, everyone. I hope you have a few takeaways and action plans from this session. Thank you for listening in.
Thank you, Sandeep. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to answer your questions. I'll pick the questions and pass on to our esteemed speakers. Let's begin the Q&A round. Thank you, Sandeep. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to answer your questions. I'll pick the questions and pass on to our esteemed speaker. Let's begin the Q&A round. So, are you ready, Sandeep? Let's start with the Q&A round.
Yes, Annie, I'm looking forward to it.
Sure. So, let's pick the first question from our audience. Cloud is great today, but it seems to be getting into a minefield where every country is coming up with their own set of laws regarding data privacy and data location. Will this not cause disruptions and roadblocks where one might end up requiring different cloud architectures and even tech stack in different countries for the same application and solution? Over to you, Sandeep.
Okay. So Annie, I think this is a very good question. And yes, these developments are happening all around the world. So more and more countries are rightfully waking up to a very important issue of data privacy. And they want more regionalization, and more sovereignty over their data. I think it's a good development. And I feel as a cloud providers, and especially public cloud providers, are uniquely positioned to help customers address this situation. So imagine a world where you are an on-premises businesses who are operating on a global scale. If you were to operate in this kind of an environment on premises, you would have to create data centers in all of these countries yourself. And we know how much time, especially in today's world where there is a constraint of chips and computing power, how much time it can take businesses to create their own data centers and spin up their own tech stacks in each of these countries to meet these data residency and sovereignty requirements. Cloud providers already have a presence in all of these regions. So if you look at Google Cloud, we have like presence in so many countries. And in many countries, we have got two regions which can help meet customers' disaster recovery within those regions and meet those data regionalization requirements. So customers today, if they are on the public cloud, they are more enabled to support and meet these government regulations, which honestly many of them would have little control over. So I think these issues are important and have to be worked with, and the public cloud helps them overcome some of these barriers in a very easy manner.
Sure, definitely public cloud will help in solving these issues. Now, let's take another question. It says, how do organizations look into compliance part as mostly the breach happens due to lack of visibility and misconfiguration or highly permissive access? So, what do you have to say about this?
That again is a very valid observation. A lot of customers themselves and even industry analysts like Gartner, they have mentioned that, and there are different figures and statistics, but about 90 plus percentage of incidents in the cloud happen because of misconfigurations. I think that number is way up, but that's a conservative number I'm just taking on top of my mind. So it is something which is important, and customers have to be careful that even though they can move at a very fast speed, they also want to move securely. And this is where a lot of cloud providers today have got native services that can help them detect the security posture of their environment. So, like I covered the example of Security Command Center when I was talking, there are other cloud providers who have got similar services natively available that customers should use and build almost 100% visibility into the configuration of their cloud environment. Using those services, they can help detect whenever there is a misconfiguration that is happening anywhere across their cloud environment and respond faster to it. So yes, it is a problem, but there is also a very important solution, something which never existed in our on-premises environments.
Sure. There's another very important question. Few use cases like IPS on cloud are still evolving. How should enterprises proceed?
Yeah, there are certain regulatory mandates and certain threat models that require certain solutions like intrusion prevention systems. Some cloud providers may have certain native capabilities, some others may not. This is where there is a very important partner ecosystem that every cloud provider has. So, like Google Cloud, we have an extensive network of partners that customers can choose to implement these custom security solutions. So if you take the question asked about intrusion prevention systems like IPS, you've got our partners like Palo Alto, you've got Checkpoint, and the who's who of the networking world. All of them have these solutions available as virtualized appliances, and customers can use them sometimes directly from the marketplace and deploy them within their virtual private cloud environments in Google Cloud.
Okay, next question is, what about serverless architecture since the threat vectors is still evolving?
Yeah, and this is a good question. And a lot of times when I speak with customers and also sometimes regulatory bodies, people are trying to assess, which model to adopt in cloud computing. As all of us know, in cloud computing, not all services are equal. Some are at an infrastructure level, some are at a platform level, some are software as a service. The thing to realize is that when you move from an infrastructure as a service to platform as a service or software as a service, you are actually delegating more and more of security responsibilities to the cloud provider. So when you say, for example, if you are using a managed database service from Google, in those cases, the patching, the backup, and the underlying health of the virtual machines, which is running your database systems, is actually taken care by a provider like Google. So I feel from a security perspective, it is a big win because customers are then delegating their security responsibilities to a provider like Google who can do it in an automated manner at a scale and with all of the security professionals that we have. So I feel cloud providers in general are much more adept at taking on more and more security responsibilities because they do it at scale with a lot of uh, trained and professional resources and with a lot of uh, trained manpower and a lot of security toolings at their disposal. It is also possible for customers to do it themselves, but it is very difficult to do because security talent is constrained in today's environment. So I feel it is better in terms of security when customers move and upgrade themselves just from a plain infrastructure as service model to a platform as a service or even serverless, because in those cases there is a server but it's the cloud provider which is managing the security of the underlying infrastructure.
Sure. I'm sure our audience are getting answers to what they are looking at. We have another question. It's on compliance. How Google Cloud follow the compliance check, which can be standard or internal, which is defined by organization.
God, again, it's a very important question, and sometimes I get this a lot from our customers. So the way to look at this is customers should look at Google Cloud or any cloud provider as a platform which has already attested against some of the world's most commonly demanded security and compliance standards. So you name the ISOs of the world, the PCI DSS, the SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3, and so many other regional and regulatory standards that IT and computing environments are subject to. So, as a customer, you get a platform that has already built in those controls, meeting the requirements of these standards. Now, what do customers have to do at their end? When you inherit this platform, you are already starting from a very good baseline. On top of this platform, when customers are deploying their own workloads, they remain responsible for building the security controls within these workloads. Now, these security controls could be a demand from these standards. Again, customers have this responsibility to build those controls in their workloads. Also, sometimes these requirements, as the question correctly identifies, some of these requirements may be an outcome of their own internal policy, which may be stricter or more relaxed than some of these standards mandate. So, in those cases, again, you have a lot of cloud provider native tools that we provide to make this an easy job for our customers to do. Also, if you want to ensure that some of these standards are followed, you have got some good practices around infrastructure as code, organization policies, which again make it easier for customers to enforce these standards across their cloud environment today.
Sure. Next question is, does SCC help direct vulnerabilities in my infrastructure and web application? Can I use it for non-Google Cloud environments?
Okay, good question. So the answer is yes and no. Yes, because Security Command Center can help customers detect vulnerabilities at an operating system level. So if you are running a bunch of VMs or virtual machines in Google Cloud, Security Command Center can detect missing patches at an operating system level in those vulnerabilities, in those virtual machines, and help them surface into Security Command Center. The same goes for web vulnerability. So if you are hosting a bunch of web applications which you are exposing to the internet, you can use Security Command Center. There is a component called as Web Security Scanner to run a scan on those web applications. So you can do those two pieces. Now coming to the bit about can SEC help them assess vulnerabilities in their on-prem environments? The answer is no. SEC today is a Google Cloud specific um security tool, so it can only work with Google Cloud environments as of today.
Sure. Next question is, Cloud DLP, are there inbuilt classifiers for India-specific PII? Can we also add our own custom PII patterns?
Okay, yes, Cloud DLP has about 150 plus classifiers inbuilt into it. Some of them are India specific. I recollect from an India specific pattern, we do have the Indian PAN card and Indian Aadhaar card formats, which you can natively detect from Cloud DLP. There is also a possibility for customers to specify their custom regex patterns. So, say for example, if you are a telecom provider and you have got a special format for all subscription IDs or account IDs that you allocate to all customers. This could be a sensitive information in your context. So you can specify a regex pattern in Cloud DLP, and accordingly, it will help you detect any of these numbers from the data that you provided.
Sure. We have one more question on DLP. It says, does DLP detect PII data in unstructured data like images, PDFs, audio, or video files?
Yes, Cloud DLP actually works both on structured as well as unstructured data. It can detect PII data from unstructured data like PDFs or image files. So you can send an image file or a PDF file to Cloud DLP, and it can help identify whether there is any sensitive data in those files, which is a very hard problem to solve. And it can do so even if those PII information is written in handwritten text. So it can do that. Coming to, I think there were other two formats, which was video and JPEG files, video and audio files. So those two formats are not supported as of today, but you can send it other file formats like PDFs, JPEG files, image files, or Office files, and can help you detect PII in those files.
Sure, sure. Next question is strong authentication, Titan security keys. Where can I buy them in India?
Yeah, good question. I did mention it in my talk. So the security keys that are provided by Google are not available in India today. Those are manufactured, and that's what we call as Titan security keys. However, customers who are in India can have two options. Those keys are based on an open protocol, which is the FIDO, the FIDO protocol, or the Universal Second Factor Protocol. You do have other providers other manufacturers who provide you security, hardware security keys. You can try a couple of manufacturers like Ubico and go to your favorite retailer or online shop and see if they are available from them. Also, interestingly, today every Android or iOS phone above a certain level uh, is potentially a security key because they have a security enclave in those phones that can store those keys which are used by these U2F protocol tokens. So effectively, you can use your mobile phone today to serve as a security key so that you don't have to invest in a hardware security key. So I would encourage you to look at some of the ways you can use an Android or an iOS phone as a potential security key, which can help you save a few dollars and help you overcome that complexity of buying one for yourself.
That's a good learning that we can use our Android or iOS phones for as a security keys. Another very important question. This is we are not using Google Cloud today, but want to leverage Beyond Corp solution to mention about. Is it possible to use it for our existing applications?
Yes, so Beyond Corp does support applications wherever those are. I mean, if you are already on Google Cloud, the integration is very simple. But even if you are not on Google Cloud, and if those applications are, say, on AWS Azure or even on premises or any other cloud provider, there is a way for you to integrate and use Beyond Corp to protect those applications. There are a couple of features. Something you either need a VPN connectivity between Google Cloud and those environments, or you can use something called as our app connector. So those technologies are there, but the answer is yes, you can use Beyond Corp to protect applications which are not on Google Cloud today.
Okay. Next question says your demo covered SCC integration with Slack. What other systems are supported? Can we stream alerts to Microsoft Teams?
That's right, and Slack was just one example that I used because it's universally loved by a lot of developers. However, that was just an example. Microsoft Teams is equally popular today. You can use Microsoft Teams, you can use Jira, you can use Asana, you can use ServiceNow. Essentially, what is happening is whenever there is a security alert emitted by SCC, that JSON is something you can send it to any API endpoint. And those API endpoints could be any system that uses and works like an API. So Slack has one, Microsoft Teams has got an API endpoint, ServiceNow, Jira. all of these systems that work using the concept of APIs, you can stream SCC alerts to any of these systems.
Sure. Next question is Saurabh mentioned about the importance of backup and restore capabilities. Are there any services available in Google Cloud for this?
Yes, we do. We we had a service called as Actifio. Actifio is an acquisition that Google Cloud made, which does backup and recovery. So you can use Actifio uh, to backup and recover any infrastructure deployment in Google Cloud or any VMware based instances. We also recently announced, I think it's very coincidental that I think this announcement was made yesterday, that there is a managed backup service that is available right from within the Google Cloud console. So customers can use our backup and recovery service to back up their infrastructure on Google Cloud, or if that infrastructure is on premises and if it's using VMware, those infrastructures can also be backed up to Google Cloud and recovered in Google Cloud.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we are running out of time, so we'll pick one last question. It says you refer to the power of Google's intelligence. Can you give examples how customers can leverage this capability for transforming security?
Yeah, so again, Google is perhaps known more as a data and AI company than any other tech provider. So there's been a lot of intelligence that we use to make this world and the internet a safer place. A great example is reCAPTCHA Enterprise, something that I covered during my talk. reCAPTCHA uses AI ML based algorithms which have been fine tuned basis our visibility over the internet. So there are 5 million plus websites that use reCAPTCHA today, as a result of which the amount of AI ML algorithms that we have and the nature in which they have been trained, it is very easy for us to distinguish between a good actor or a bad actor which is interacting with your website. So this is one example. There are many other examples like Cloud Armor, which is our DDoS prevention solution that has got a managed offering where again we use our power of AI ML to understand anomalies in traffic patterns and help our customers use such patterns to protect their websites, even though you cannot write a rule. So there's one thing under WAF, you can write a simple rule. Any customer can go ahead and do that. But if you there are some scenarios which you cannot predict, and in those cases, using a managed protection offering from Cloud Armor lets Cloud Armor protect your applications, even in the absence of any pre-configured rules, just by understanding certain patterns. So there are many other examples like this, but yeah, those are two very important examples that I could share.
Thank you so much, Sandeep. Thank you, Saurabh, as well, for the insightful content and your valuable time. Thank you, Sandeep, for answering all the questions which were shared by our audience. I hope that our audience found this session meaningful and purposeful. Thank you to our audience for being interactive and patient. And finally, thanks to Google Cloud for the collaboration. Ladies and gentlemen, keep following ETCIO for all the latest updates and upcoming events. Take care and stay safe.